Earlier, I spoke to Christopher Chivvis. He's a senior political scientist at the RAND Corporation here in Washington. I asked him about the importance of Merkel's visit and what he thinks the U.S. needs to do to move past the eavesdropping scandal.
Well, I think it's a difficult thing to get past. Obviously, it's been a big issue in Germany itself. We did see the president making some statements today. I don't recall off the top of my head his exact language, but I think statements that will probably make Chancellor Merkel happy. I mean, and I think that it's probably the case that those statements will help to facilitate the actions that we've seen on with regard to Ukraine.
And one other thing before we move on to Ukraine, because I do want to talk about that. It's vitally important as well. The U.S. has come up with some reforms. The president has announced them. But again, going back to Connolly, she said, basically the U.S. position would be, trust us. This isn't going to happen again. The problem is there really isn't a lot of trust. How do you rebuild that trust?
Well, I think one of the things that hasn't been out there enough in this issue is the extent to which our intelligence cooperation with all of our European allies is absolutely essential to their own security. That's an issue that somehow has been lost in a lot of these discussions. So I think that as we go ahead, we'll probably see more discussion about the ways in which America's intelligence cooperation with our European allies actually helps to protect our European citizens.
How does this muddy the waters, though, with Ukraine? Because it has strained relations with European allies for the U.S., hasn't it?
I don't think that it's played a huge role in the issue over Ukraine. I think there's a lot of recognition within Europe itself that what's happening in Ukraine is quite serious and really has ramifications for Europe's security, even before it does for America's own.
Angela Merkel spends a lot of time actually talking on the phone with Putin, probably more so than any of the other allies in Europe. What type of role can she play? How can the U.S. president and Merkel come together with some kind of approach that might really kind of bridge the problems there? Because it doesn't seem to be getting better. It seems to be getting worse.
Well, I think you're right. I think the situation with regard to Ukraine is definitely getting worse by the day. And I think you're also absolutely right that Angela Merkel has a critical role to play, not just because Germany is Europe's largest economy, but also because of this warm relationship that Germany and Russia have had over the course of the last decade. So any steps that Germany takes are not only going to be meaningful economically, but they're also going to send a really big symbolic message to Russia, and that is stop what you're doing now.
Christopher, give me the sense of the dynamics here, because obviously the U.S. President, Barack Obama, wants Angela Merkel on his side, moving forward with sanctions towards Russia. I suspect Merkel's coming with a different kind of point of view because they have a better relationship with Russia, trying to perhaps push the U.S. president in another direction. Give me an idea of what you think the conversations are like.
Well, I think that, it's true that Germany is in a little bit of a more difficult position. Angela Merkel herself, she's in a coalition government, and the Social Democrats have historically been a little bit more open to conciliating Moscow than her own conservative party. Nevertheless, we have seen Merkel over the course of the recent weeks and months move closer towards the U.S. position, and I think it's very important to her that there isn't a lot of daylight between what the U.S. president wants and where Germany comes out on the issue.
So the key is both of them to come out with the same unified voice, in a sense?
I don't think we're going to see perfect harmony, but we are going to see a lessening of any kind of distance that there is, and I think that's clear from their comments today. President Obama went perhaps a little bit further than Merkel did, but Merkel was clear that if Russia continues to interfere in eastern Ukraine and prevents the May 25 elections, that there will be serious consequences. That will include potentially sanctions on the gas industry, on financial industry, and also on the armaments industry.
Will it make a difference?
I think at that point, yes.
All right, Christopher, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.